the proposed fire rescue station. I'm going to call the meeting to order. With us tonight from my left, going around this way, is Fire Chief Jeff Deering, DPW Director Rich Waldo, Peter Canine, Rick C. I'm David Little. I expect Mark Matheson to be arriving shortly. We have Kathy McNamara, who is the OES representative. That's Orleans Elementary School, if anyone's not aware. And Mark Reel, who is going to come back over here once he gets everything set up. So before we start, I have a couple of comments I would like to make just to set the table a little bit for this evening. Today, I recently rewatched the presentation and comments regarding Article 17 at town meeting. And I must note that the majority of the comments made were related to the high cost of the project. For the most part, I think everyone was in consensus that a new facility is needed for the town. Well, the appropriated funds are not to exceed $55 million. I would like to say that it's incumbent upon this building committee to cut costs wherever possible, and we plan to do just that. We're just getting to the point where we're going to be able to take a deep dive into that. So before we begin, and to perhaps narrow down comments, everyone should know that the square footage requirement and space needs for the station, they've been worked on for approximately 2 to 3 years now. And for the most part, it's been finalized. So the footprint of the building is more or less fixed. That is not going to change at this point in time. And finally, I would like to ask that, I know this is, people get emotional about things like this. I would ask that all the speakers please be professional and polite. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ted Galante, who had an issue with traffic today, and unfortunately, he's going to be on Zoom. And also with us at the meeting, sitting at the table, is Rick Pomeroy of Pomeroy Associates and his associate, Bill Nandler. So, Rick, if I could turn it over to you, please.
I mean, Ted, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, yes. Ted, could I turn it over to you, please?
I'm happy to start. Good evening, everyone, and again, apologies for not being there in person. The effort was a valiant effort. Let me just say that. But traffic got the better of us tonight, which is unfortunate because I think it would have been good to be there. But be that as it may, we'll just go through the presentation, and I think. Mark, or maybe David, the screen behind you is the one that's being shared. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so we're going to go through a few slides and just talk about the overall building. We're going to touch base on the proposed site plan, the building plans and elevations, the outbuilding plans and elevations, the 3D massing views as we call it. And then we can talk about schedule and budget if we need to. We also want to talk about materials and get some of that stuff talked about. So if we can go to the proposed site plan, please, the overall diagram of the site plan. Right, thank you. So the site plan is pretty much set. The building is facing Eldridge Parkway. Eldridge Parkway is at the bottom of the plan to the south. It is there's really two volumes and it's a pretty big building. One part of it is 2 stories. One part of it we call a story and a half because of the apparatus bay side. And we're trying to manage the size of the building by breaking it up into a couple of volumes as opposed to one big building. And so the entrance and living quarters side and the office side is on the left hand. There's some green grass space in front of that. and on the right-hand side is the apparatus bay set back a bit from the street. And so the building, you know, the more residentially kind of scale is closer to the street. The apparatus bay is further back from the street. There are distinct ways for public safety to make sure that the fire trucks and ambulances and such leave in their own curb cut. They travel down the apron. And then we have a curb cut to the left and a curb cut to the right. And those are for smaller vehicles. To the left is for civilians. Civilians and public safety vehicles ideally never mix. And so that's what the site plan is trying to do there. We have parking along the left-hand side for visitors that might come to the facility, and a couple of handicap spots that are closest to the entrance, which is on Eldridge. And then in the rear of the building, we have parking spaces for both firefighters and people who are working in the building and their shift change and related quantity of spaces, but also if there's training, right? If there's a training, because there's a training room in this building, and if Chief Daring or someone has an all Cape training, they can host it here and have parking for it tucked away in the back where it's not really visible. In the far rear of the building, there's a word outbuilding and a solar canopy, and so the outbuilding is a small, really just a storage building for a few pieces of equipment. And then the entire roof of that building, as well as parking along the back, is covered with a solar canopy. And the goal of the solar canopy, like the rest of the building, is to cover it with solar panels so that we can achieve net zero, which is generating electricity on site. Generating all the electricity that the building needs on site, so that the living quarters part of the building, the apparatus bay part of the building, the outbuilding, and part of the parking are covered with solar panels. There's a little bit of green space in the front. We're trying to make it a little bit, we're trying to be friendly to Eldridge Parkway, have some green space. Set the building back a little bit so that it recedes into that green space. And what you don't really see in the rest of this site is that after the curb cut on the left, all of that is really green space. And then in the rear, from the solar canopy back, all of that is green space. And to the right of the entry drive that's along the apparatus bay, the Nauset fields are all green space. So there's a lot of green space. We're focused just on this building in this location and in this place. So that's by way of site plan discussion, and we can always come back to that if we need to. If we can go to the next slide. So there's some exterior materials. I'm not going to read all of this, but the intent is to derive a bit from various conditions. We're trying to consider materials that have a level of durability for a building that really needs to be quite tough, right? Firefighters are tough guys. They're driving big trucks. They've got to really keep the building clean. They've got a lot of equipment that they're moving around, and we want the building to be very durable. We're trying to so let's talk about brick, right? There's a little bit of brick on the building, a good amount of brick on the building. We're trying to make the apparatus bay side a small brick fire station. The pitched roof is intended to be maybe not literally a Cape Cod style building, but referencing some of the Cape and Civic buildings in and around the area. Wood siding is trying to make it a little warmer and be kind of domesticating it a little bit. Standing seam metal roof is a 50 to 75 year material that really takes solar panels very well. So it has kind of a really crisp and clean material presence, but it's very durable and long standing, and really a great investment for the town. I think that's kind of where we are with the overall broad brush of the materials. And I know there's a lot of questions about materials, and we can talk about them and think about them as we move along, but that's really where the kind of idea starts. So the renderings, yes, please. The renderings, we are going to show you a few, and this is they're intended to be rendered from the street level view, and have give you a sense of what the scale of the building is, and what the site around it looks like. So, the first thing to note is that there's green grass and concrete next to the road. And then we have set back further is the red apparatus bay portion of the building, red brick. We're proposing a red brick. There's, I think probably half a dozen red brick fire stations on the Cape. We just finished one in Dennis, the next door neighbor town. We built a red brick building in that town. We've put a cornice on this version of the building to have to kind of give it a cap and give it some historic context. There's an institutional depth to fire stations that we like to reference, and that starts to do that. Red doors, we want to make sure that it's clear that it's a fire station. A lot of glazing on the doors. We're trying to show some civic pride, right? The vehicles that the firefighters use, the ambulance drivers use, they're all civic. The department keeps them really clean, and there's sort of an identity of that whole piece. It's a low slung, it's a flat roof building. That is one of the cost saving elements, right? There's the possibility of a gable roof that we talked about early on, but the cost for that was prohibitive, and so we started to look at a flat roof building on that side. That's a 4-bay portion of the building. There's another single bay to the left here, rendered black with some stone on it, and that's a smaller mass, right? And so the idea is to break up the massing, so we have a fire station with 4 bays, a smaller ambulance bay, and then a larger residential bay on the other side. And that little piece breaks up the massing a little bit. Let me just get a drink. And then, right, thank you. And then the residential side gets us something that is again, we're working with scale, right? We have a front entrance facing Eldridge Parkway. We want to make sure that communicates entrance. The glass doors, there's a canopy overhanging that. It's intended to be a kind of wood, welcome, warm element, and it's connected to it's adjacent to it along the parking area is a trellis, and really when we were finding things like this, we were searching, Cape Cod trellis and Cape Cod siding and Cape Cod entrance and things like that. And so that's what we've been working with to get the scale of this and the size of these things. We're proposing a kind of wood siding. If needed, we want to have a kind of easy maintainable, not if needed. We want the siding to be something that's easy to maintain and not overly cumbersome for the town, right? So from a facilities perspective, we're trying to think about that. And so that part of the building is a little more domestic in scale versus the larger part or the apparatus bay part where the larger vehicles are. That is a more industrial sort of institutional kind of building. Next slide, please. Around the back of the building, there's the side of the building facing the parking area. Those are all the bunk rooms for the firefighters under that trellis, and so we're trying to make that a pleasant place because that's their second home, right? These guys live here. Above that, on the second floor, are the offices. There's a little bump out where the gray box is, where the cursor is now. That is the fitness center. for the firefighters. These guys are occupational athletes, that they really need to stay fit. And so that's part of what we help provide, that. The rear of the building has a staff entrance, and the little white piece sticking out is a stair where the wood, the lighter color wood is the kitchen where they're going to cook and eat, and where they're living. That little mass, the kind of piece that breaks up the massing, is to the left of that, which is the stone piece, and then the red brick just to the other side of that from the rear. You get a hint of the roof. It's a very thin roof, but it shows, it's very it's a strong gable to communicate that that's a different volume, and it breaks up the massing between the two. Next one. So this is more, again, back toward the entrance a little bit. We're looking at the side of the building. You see the parking on the left for visitors, and the accessibility spots, and the and entrance right inside the front of the building there. Next slide. The other side of the apparatus bay, we've recessed the brick on a kind of a pattern that starts to break up the scale a little bit and make the building feel a little more brick detail, user-friendly kind of idea. There's windows in every other bay so that we can bring natural light in. Part of the sustainability features is known as daylight harvesting. So we're sort of having that, having the building lit inside by the daylight. And then there's some trees shown. We're still working on the landscape, of course. But in the rear, I didn't mention this, but there's a training tower in the back that really is about the fire department training, right? You're putting ladders in place, extracting people from windows, things like that. It's a typical kind of useful function that works for fire services. The outbuilding, finally, is just a small building tucked in the back. You see the siding here is proposed to be similar metal, standing seam metal. Again, we want this building to be durable. We want it to last a long time. We don't want to spend a lot of money on it, so we're trying to manage those things. And then it extends over, and there's a solar canopy, and I think maybe the next slide shows that solar canopy. Yeah, so we can park under the solar canopy on that side. And so the idea is to, we are producing a new building. There's going to be some change. It's critical that the department have this facility, and we're making it, we're balancing aesthetics, function, durability, cost, all at the same time, while addressing the site and making it a building that the community can be proud of for a long time. I think that might be the end of the slides. The materials that we're starting to talk about, we actually have physical samples in the car that we weren't able to get there with. I'm sorry, but this is a representation of those materials. And so on the left-hand side, you see a standing seam black metal roof. Then you see the brick veneer. The exact brick has yet to be chosen. It may be red, it may be orange, it may be a mix. We have yet to get into that level of detail. Some sort of small stone connector between the brick and the wood, and then light wood and a little darker wood to kind of be warm and friendly and pedestrian scale, the size of a person, and inviting, right? Make the building feel inviting. And just inside the building, just inside the lobby, we're talking about bringing that wood inside so that people feel at ease there and comfortable there and welcome there. And then the window down below, you see a black metal frame. And so we have the black windows that we're proposing, and then the trellis is the wood that's on the right there up above. So I don't know if we need to go into schedule and budget. I think the discussion is really more about the finishes, and there are some comments that were sent in writing, and they it's great to receive them. There's a range of questions and concerns. I think some of the items that we're talking about. There's a question of why brick, or is the brick too orange, or I don't remember all the comments. There's quite a few. And these are things that are in process. These are things that we're developing. We're suggesting brick because it really has a strength and durability, and it communicates fire station very well. And we do think that this is not a residential building, right? It is a much larger building, and having it look like a house carries risks that we're trying to. The scale of the vehicles are so significant. They're moving, at a pace and not the same as one would operate a garage in their house, for example. So I think I'll pause there. I've said a lot. I'm
Okay.
welcome to have comments or however you want
No,
to handle it.
I think that's good, Ted. Rick, you don't have anything at this point, do you? Or do you want to just?
No, we've received all of the comments in writing and online. A lot of them conflict with other comments, so we're
No,
trying to
I'm.
juggle that around, but I
I'm
think
aware
we're
of
here
that,
today
but
to hear from the public.
Before I think that as a committee, we've received some comments online. We'd still like to hear from the public that's here this evening, and then digest all of them together. So I'd like to turn it over to questions from the audience. Mr. Wilkinson.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, committee, I think it's a given that we want to build a new fire department, but my own prejudice is that municipal buildings reflect the town, and I think as a consequence they should be as attractive as possible. So I have 3 suggestions, and I'm hopeful that one of them may save enough money to help aid the other. Regarding the building with the gable, I've been here all my life, and I've not seen a lot of overhang. Could you put that? Did I knock
Right
that
there.
off?
Just wiggle the.
Oh, sorry. Shows my technical ability. Oh, there we go.
He can see it. Keep talking.
That's okay. Thank you, Mark. So my 3 suggestions would be that most all the buildings on Cape Cod, on their gables, they would typically have rake boards. We have a substantial overhang there that, quite frankly, doesn't feel like Cape Cod to me at all, and it looks like it would be somewhat expensive to construct. So I think if you went right back to rake boards, you could save some money there. It'll come as no surprise to David because he's heard me moan about it. I think that the building would be much more attractive if, in the attempts to save money, which I know the committee is working on, that you might find the funds to put a gabled roof over the garage bays. I think it would make the building much more attractive. It's not terribly complicated to run rafters up to carrying timber and so on and so forth. I've spent a few years on roofs doing that myself. Again, I think it would really soften the look of the building. I would also urge the committee to not use the brick. I don't believe for a minute that the fire department's going to be backing into the brick structure, so I'm not sure you really need brick for that reason. Brick is very institutional, and when all is said and done, Eldridge Parkway is a residential road, and I think anything that you can do to make it fit in it will obviously be a fire station because right there it says Orleans Fire Rescue Department. I think everybody will know it's a fire department, even if it's not brick. Lastly, just on the front of the building, I would urge you to break up those 4 windows if possible, and certainly to make them mullioned windows. Plate glass windows just look very institutional. And lastly, I would urge you to use a composite clapboard across the entire front of the building, not mixed stone, brick, and vertical boarding. Clapboards, of course, are very, very typical, and you can get them made out of composite cement, I think, primarily these days. They last a very long time. They can be washed and painted. It would soften the look of the building dramatically. I think whenever you use alternating coverings, it just doesn't work. I think a clapboard across would soften it all dramatically, and thanks for listening.
Thank you, Bob. Ken?
Ken Heritage. This may surprise you, but my opinion is to the contrary of the previous speaker. To me, this is a utility building. It is a fire rescue building. That's its primary purpose. Its primary purpose is not to look pretty. I cannot imagine somebody from out of town driving by a pretty station and saying, oh, that's pretty, let's move to Orleans. That isn't going to happen. So if this is the least expensive, then this is the way we need to go, because we have so many other things in this town that need attention. So finally, I would agree partially with the previous speaker in that I question the use of wood. And I would think go to something like HardiePlank, and I used that as many as 50 years ago when it was kind of fresh from Australia. Not only is it less expensive from the long term, maintenance-wise, but you can buy it in the panels and it's less expensive to install, and you certainly don't end up with the rot, and at least in some buildings, it's less expensive from an insurance standpoint. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom?
You set the pace. Hi, I'm Tom Finan. I watched your June 15th meeting and compliment the team on the, whoa, I screwed it up here, on the progress that you made. It was most impressive. I was left with 2 concerns. Building appearance is what we're here about tonight. The architect spoke about a brick-facing Eldridge Parkway, which we see right here. And this would not be a good fit in light of the surrounding neighborhood. It's too industrial looking. Eliminate the brick. Now, I brought a photo of the Brewster Fire Station, which I can't put up on the screen, but Jeff, if you could pass that around. Thank you. And I'll pass one around the audience. Thank you. Right up the road in Brewster, there's a fire station that looks like a fit for the neighborhood. And I think we ought to try to emulate that, not to the exact design, but the character that it portrays from the, as you look at it from the street. Also, wood siding was mentioned, too high maintenance. Hardy board or a similar material would be much better choice. We use that along with AZEK trim in the fire station or the police station. Looks as good as the day we built it. So those would be my comments regarding the look of the building as you look at it from the street. Thank you.
Thank you. Megan, you had your hand up. Would you like to speak?
Oh, so
But-
badly.
If I could chime in one quick second, to those responding to the wood question, we are proposing a not wood product. It is not wood. It is a resinous material that is, let's put it in the category of hardy panel, but it's not hardy panel. So it's, just to be clear, low maintenance, no specific wood.
Megan, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Megan Kelly. Most of you know who I am. I live directly across the street from the proposed site. To the gentleman here who said that people aren't gonna drive by and be like, oh, it's pretty or it's not pretty. Most people in this town don't have it directly affecting their everyday view, life, the whole heart of it. So the aesthetics of it actually does matter to a lot of us. My neighbors here, those driving down Eldridge Parkway. Eldridge Parkway is considered a scenic road here in Orleans. I understand that the police station is down the street. I understand that we have the Eldridge Park, we have the school. That's not directly in the middle of the neighborhood of the fire department. The fire department right now is located behind, it's a very green space. The end of my driveway, I stood down there last night, a couple nights ago again. You look, it's dark, it's quiet, it's peaceful. It's beautiful. Like, I love my house, I love my yard, I love my neighborhood. I love the fire guys, as I've made very clear in the past. This building, like, I'm sorry, I don't know his name, the architect guy. This green space you
Ted-
speak of right here,
His name is Ted.
Ted, sorry, Ted. That green space right there, I mean, that's not green space. I see a lot of cement, I see a lot of brick, I see all the trees that are at the end of my road, at the end of the driveway, gone. Like, it's so concerning to me. What is the plan to keep the privacy of myself, the neighbor, to keep the green in the neighborhood itself? Like, I understand we need a new fire department. I said this at the town meeting. I get it. I want the safety of the fire guys. I love them. I really, really do. But this building doesn't belong. The architecture is not Orleans. That's like, it's so hard for me to speak here because it is really personal for me. This isn't just about the safety of the fire department. It's about my property. It's about my view. It's about my everyday life. It's about just living a nice life in my little town that I love so much, that I came back to after years of being gone. And to have such a massive monstrosity right smack in the middle of the neighborhood, I don't understand. I don't understand why we have it looking the way it does. It's, what are you doing to help protect the privacy of the neighbors that are there? It's going to be bright, lit up. There's no more trees. You want to propose another light down the street, which, don't even get me started on the light. It's like too much. What is the plan to help protect myself, the neighbors, the surrounding area with the light pollution, with our privacy? That's kind of what I really want to know from Ted.
Do you care to comment, Ted? Or you want to hold off comments till we're done?
It might make sense to hold off comments till we're done. I'm assuming there's gonna be a bunch of.
You know, we're hearing
Okay.
your comments, and I'm writing them down,
Same.
Megan.
Same, yeah.
It's the architecture of it. I mean, I get it. It's going to be big. I understand that. I'm not stupid. It is what it is. But I hope you all hear those whose lives are going to be directly affected every single day. Every day. You know, that little picture of people walking down hands-on so that they can enter from Eldridge Park. Nobody's walking down Eldridge Parkway saying, let's go into the fire department this way. Like, that's just not the reality. It's not urban, suburban, middle America. That's what I have to say right now.
Thank you.
I'm
you're,
just gonna follow up on her, because I.
no, go ahead, and then Rich, I'll take you.
Easier to kind of keep it all in one. My name is Perry. I live at 65 Eldridge with my wife and my son. And it's directly across from the fire station, which my wife and I, feel is like a really good thing to have. We have this 14-month-old who just the other day sliced his finger, got 5 stitches, and my wife didn't know what to do. She ran him across the street, and they were able to help us and get us sent to where we needed to go. So having them there is a godsend, and it's a blessing to our neighborhood. And, with that being said, I do have several concerns, and a lot of it's gonna be to reiterate on what Megan just touched on. But one would be the design. I'm not originally from Cape Cod. I've only been here since 19. I'm from Maine. So that kind of fits more of like what you'd see up there with the big timbers that come out over the gables and whatnot. Touching on how Ted said it shouldn't look like a house. Well, the police station looks like a house. Just down the street, it looks like a house. But it doesn't interfere or affect the day-to-day operations. If I'm not mistaken, they seem to be operating quite well. I don't think anybody can mistake that for a house, but aesthetically, when you drive through, it doesn't detract your eye away. And to this gentleman here, what is being proposed would detract my eye away and look and kind of be like, that doesn't belong, Kind of like the school that's way in the background. It's a huge brick building, but it's just back there. It's ugly, It's actually may not bring people say, oh, I want to move to Orleans, but it's made me and my wife consider moving out of Orleans because of this big building now that's in our front yard, which was behind a bunch of trees. Like, we hear the sirens when they come out every night. We see the lights go on. It is what it is. You don't even really notice too much here and there. But having it be directly on my front doorstep, I think would change that a lot. And so my next questions are to Ted, more so, and anybody in the planning, and then for the chief. So first, it would be during construction phase, what considerations have been, taken or made for the direct impacts of the people that live in that area? And then it would be for like the chief, the future operations on having all of those driveways, all of those lights be there. What are the impacts that's going to have on us that live there? Because to me, it seems like there's going to be a lot more light pollution. I'm going to have lights coming in my house, my whole front of my house, all my windows are right there. They're going to cut down all the trees, and I'm going to have spotlights and big lights just shining my house. I can't put trees up because the power lines are there. So it seems like a lot. I guess that's really it. Like, we have my family, we support these guys. These guys are the best part of our community, the lifesavers. We just want to make sure that it fits for everybody, and thank you.
Thank you, and we are keeping track of your comments. Rich?
Can we reboot that drawing? My name is Rich Marngell. I'm an architect here in Orleans. I've been here over 35 years. I'm a member of the Architectural Review Board. Been serving on that committee probably 3 or 4 terms on that committee. I do primarily residential design, and I'd like to just go through a number of issues that have been discussed already. I understand the design is an off-Cape firm. I understand the nature of that particular design. I don't feel it is compatible with the neighborhood, the architecture of Cape Cod. I have some examples that I'd like to share with the board of local off-Cape structures that are firehouses. Some of these are just garages, but again, show some of the nature of architecture. Let me give you those before I proceed. maybe someone could assist me with the site plan on this. My first thought was, looking at the site plan, there is quite a bit of space behind this building. I agree with some of the neighbors and the scale of this building. It's too close to the street. Hoping that this perhaps footprint, if it is etched in stone, could be pushed quite a bit back further onto the site and some more greenery placed in front of the building. That's the main concern I have with the site plan. It's out of scale for the neighborhood. Its design is not consistent with the residential structures. I don't feel that it needs to boast that it is a firehouse. I think it's pretty clear to everyone that it is a firehouse, and having the architecture reflect that is a detriment to the residential nature of the neighborhood. If you could change this to the front elevation. The drawing I submitted to you is a firehouse in Andover. It's very much in keeping with the style of the architecture in and on Cape Cod. When I look at the front of this building, first, the brick is quite uncommon for structures in Orleans. I think we have one or two buildings that are brick. I think the old telephone building is brick. I think it's been painted. You had a fellow here the other day, Ron, was commenting point for point. I wish I had made some notes. Just doing this extemporaneously. The front brick portion of the building and the scale of it is just way out of scale. There are ways to reduce the appearance of that by breaking it down into smaller architectural elements. The overhang on the left and the use of materials there are, again, interesting, perhaps in a more contemporary off-Cape town. The comment was made by Ron that the overhang length is quite unknown to these parts. The materials, again, are a little bit abstract to Cape Cod. The scale of the roof on the right side of the building seems to be, I'm not sure if the height is required in there. Obviously, the trucks and things can fit into those bays. What the extra height in that facility is, I'm not really sure. The flat roof and the brick facade and the mass of that seems out of scale. The coloration of the doors doesn't have anything to do with the fact that it's a firehouse. I don't know why they use red doors. The images I sent to you guys obviously have structures with white doors that are more in keeping with carriage houses and more of a vernacular of shingle style architecture on Cape Cod. If you go to the next page. The trellis on the left side of the building doesn't seem to serve any purpose, perhaps other than a shading device. The images of the drawing that photograph that I presented shows a covered roof with colonnade, which would provide some sun shading. Not sure if you'd be a problem on that side of the building. I think it faces west, but it is more traditional, has a slope to it. It has a covering on the roof to provide shelter. Again, the front of the building, the scale can be broken down into a number of gables. The overhang seems a little excessive. And the materials seem a little bit more contemporary compared to some of the images that I presented to the board. Same for the rear right of the building and the back building. Again, the windows on it are more contemporary, look like either picture windows, not double hung units. Just the various elements there seem out of scale and out of proportion, and materials are not kind of consistent with what you would normally see on a
Okay.
Cape Cod structure. So,
Thank you, Rich.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm Chris Donner.
I've been a proud year-round resident of Orleans for 52 years and truly care about the appearance of the town, just as I care about the quality of life it offers. I unfortunately remained silent when the power station at the junction of Eldridge Parkway and Route 6A was proposed, and again when the South Orleans sculpture was somehow permitted. The proposed fire station, if erected per the present renderings, will be another unremovable stain on what is left of the town's character. I cannot see how the proposed exterior treatment in any way is inspired by, quote, traditional homes, barns, and civic buildings of our community. This design might work on Route 9 somewhere, but is out of place for the main visitor route to Nauset Beach and to the Cape Cod Baseball League field. If you want to reflect the character, history, and identity of the Orleans community, why not simplify the design by reducing the number of elements and make it more compatible with the nearby Brick Nauset Middle School? Don't bring us Framingham when we are just fine with Orleans. Additional thought. No traditional fascia trim, a universal Cape Cod design. Check out the East Harwich Fire Station or the Fontaine Medical Center or even the Orleans Police Station. All large buildings that do a better job of belonging. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Andrew?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and committee members. I am Andrew Meow. I sent the committee online comments on the weaknesses of the current design. The current design is unattractive and will look odd on Eldridge Parkway. Just aside for a minute, when you have a prominent site like we do here, you don't try to hide it as a residential building. I am totally against the idea of breaking the building apart, the residential part and the other part, which is for the equipment. It should be one unified, designed, handsome building. It should not try to be a house or just fit in with house elements so it might blend. Instead, I recommend a reconsideration of Ted Galante's feasibility study of a clear-story option. The committee would be familiar with this, as you've all seen it.
No, we have it. Thank you, Andrew.
Maybe I'll pass it around to the audience. Some of you may not have seen it.
No offense, but I don't want to look at that either.
As the sketch shows, the fire station will have two flanking shed roofs, providing a striking modern face appropriate for a state-of-the-art life safety facility. Furthermore, the clear-story design has major energy benefits. Daylighting through the clear-story panels reduce lighting needs. Natural ventilation using thermal updrafts provides natural cooling. It will have more roof surfaces for twice the amount of solar panels, thereby exceeding the net zero power requirements. Using this passive method to cool the building could save a few $1 million in mechanical equipment and ductwork. This is an attractive and promising design for which the groundwork is already done. No changes in the approved building plans are needed.
Excuse me, Andrew, if I may. A few meetings ago, and I believe you might have even attended one of the meetings, but we were presented with 4 options. And for cost reasons, the committee voted against the clear story option. I respect your concern and your opinion, but we are limited to not to exceed a $55 million budget at this point, and that would put us way over that cost. So I don't want to cut you off, but I want to make that statement clear.
I understand, Mr. Chairman. I see the 4 options presented to your committee at the feasibility stage. And under the clear story option were $3 signs. So it bears out what you say. But we don't know how much. Right now, at town meeting, they said the construction has already come down below the original 55 million. And the proposals I'm having with the energy savings, more solar power, more energy, and natural cooling that reduces the mechanical equipment and ductwork will be further savings. Mechanical equipment and ductwork costs about 8% of the construction cost.
I appreciate your comments, but we have moved on from that option, Andrew, and we have several other people that would like to speak.
So I just want to say, what I'm asking is a reconsideration by this committee, not denying that you have moved on, but I'm asking for a reconsideration for the good reasons presented. Thank you.
Thank you. Meph.
Hi, I'm Meph Runyon, speaking as a private citizen, and I don't want to get into the design discussion. I just want to talk about lighting, because that is always, I think, not enough attention is paid to that. But some of the earlier comments about how lighting will affect the neighborhood, that's a legitimate question to get into. We also have the ongoing sort of desire in this town for dark sky design, and the remembering that lighting is exterior and interior, and that both will have an impact on that. And I guess the best way I can say this is that this is a residential street, and this building ought to go to sleep at night, and not be something that is a beacon for people to see. And I think there's a lot of detail that we don't talk about a lot. You can put lighting on timers. I mean, there's a lot of ways that the lighting can be held to a bare minimum.
Good point. Thank you. Bill.
Good evening, Bill Wiebel, member of the Orleans Historical Commission, and I thank the committee for its work. I guess my position is, what is the legacy that this particular building committee wants to leave in its wake? Is it this, as has been eloquently suggested, is this the gateway to our community? If so, that will be your legacy. If it is something softer, much more in keeping with both the neighborhood and headed out into East Orleans, into architectural heritage areas, so be it. But I would just challenge you to think about what is the legacy that this board wishes to leave for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? So we have excuse me. Oh, Peggy, do we have people online that would like to speak?
Don't see any hands raised.
Thank you.
David,
Yes.
if you're wrapping up, I'd like to touch on one more topic, but I want you to.
No, go ahead, Tom, because what we are going to do is take all these comments and digest them with the architect and Pomeroy Associates and make some more decisions before our next meeting, which I believe is the 29th?
27th.
27th. We're not, obviously, we can't make any decisions other than Meff's and Megan's point about the lighting. I think that's a done deal. That's very important, and it's part of our zoning bylaw. Tom?
This is a bit off topic, but I have concerns when I continue to see a septic system portrayed on the overall campus plan. As a homeowner who has just, at the direction of the town, spent tens of thousands of dollars to abandon my septic system and hook up to the pipe that goes down Nauset Farms Way. And I question the mixed message that this sends with the idea of building something brand new and putting a septic system in. We're being asked to support the town's efforts to abandon septic systems in the interest of protecting our water bodies. Then the town installs a septic system, proposes to. Terrible optics. I strongly ask that you abandon the septic system approach and hook to the town's municipal wastewater system, which already exists on Route 6A beyond the elementary school, and the system also exists beyond the middle school at the library on Main Street. Thank you.
Rich Waldo, the DPW director, is investigating that, and we just, for a placeholder, we're showing where the septic system may have to go on the site. So, any other comments? Megan?
I just want to reiterate what the gentleman in the back said about, I noticed in the thing that there's parking spaces for, 60, 70 cars or something ridiculous? How often is there really 60 or 70 cars back there? Why can't the building be pushed back further off the road? It doesn't need to be smack on the road. What is the true nature of all those parking spaces, and why are we not considering pushing that building back further?
So I can help you out there. The because we're planning to let the fire department or the crew stay in the existing facility while this is being constructed, the topography of the land dictates that we install a sheet wall at the end of our project before we get to where the existing fire station is. And I shared your same concern today when I was going through other meetings and things. We can look at that. I don't know if it's possible to push it back further, but in a perfect world, I think it would be pushed back 50 more feet. I agree 100% with you, but the program we have maintains the use of the existing facility. Otherwise, we would have to build a temporary facility to house the fire department at a huge additional expense. I'm not sure that satisfies you as an answer, but that's where we kind of are landing at this point.
So what again happens to the existing building after the fact?
That's where the parking's gonna be, and that's where the storage building is going to be.
And so if my understanding's correct, the driveway that is used now will continue to be used or will not be used any longer? Because
it will-
if the vehicles are all smack on the road, I mean, I was told by, he's not here anymore in this town. The reason for the obtrusive light at the end of my driveway at the moment was because that was the access for the fire trucks to come up, and it was on a corner, that the light wouldn't have to be there. So now that the building is on the road and all the vehicles are exiting smack on the road, what's going on with the driveway that is currently used? And why is the light gonna remain?
So in the rear, there are still ambulances that are located that would come out here and up through there. We haven't discussed traffic lights at this point. And perhaps we could get by with one traffic light in the center of the structure that could be seen in both directions that would work, similar to Eastham, when you go by the Eastham Fire. This site plan hasn't been finalized, but these are good questions, Megan. I appreciate them.
Okay. That, I just wanted to jump in on his, and I'm really, really concerned about the green space that is lacking in this plan versus what I have at the moment.
We're hearing you loud and clear. Yes, Rich, if you can keep it brief, please. We're over our time frame at this point.
Dave, the front lot was purchased, was that purchased after the initial planning of this structure? The dentist facility?
It was purchased during the planning process.
Was there any thought ever given to keeping the existing station and splitting that into two structures? Obviously, you're keeping the existing
No.
building and you're building
No.
a new
The
building.
existing station is, it's, I don't know if you've been on a tour. They're living in squalid conditions. No, the existing station could not be rehabilitated. We looked into saving the existing fire station and using it for another use, and no, it's not possible.
I mean, $55 million seems like quite a bit of money. I was wondering if these facilities could be broken into two buildings, a new building up front and the keeping of the building in the rear.
Well, I wish
and a
you
renovation of
had
it.
come to our meetings over the past year, and you would have learned about this process and everything that we've been through up to
Yeah.
this point. We're really focusing on the facade and the architectural look of the building at this point, along with other comments that have been brought up by many residents here.
I had a long discussion with the chief a few weeks ago about a lot of these issues, and I think, and that was something that came up. Somebody had mentioned to me, why don't we just build another building in front that has the EMTs or the fire trucks in the back building, but I guess it's,
No, I
I'm made aware
understand.
that
So-
they're intermixed, that those.
No, unfortunately, the train's left the station on that.
Okay. So
So-
at what point are we at right now in this planning process? I mean, is that plan and that building
as I
facade a
mentioned-
done deal?
As I mentioned in my opening comments, the square footage requirements and the space needs for the facility,
Sure.
they've been worked on
I
from the
understand.
preliminary
Yes.
process through this process.
Yes.
And that's pretty much fixed.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but it's fixed. We are working on other things at this point, and we've heard all of the other comments from the town. I wish
They'd been there earlier.
Is
it a moot point?
does anybody, I've been doing all the talking for
Well,
the committee, and I
could chime
apologize.
in if you'd like, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, please.
Just say that to clarify where we are in this process, we've moved past schematic design. We're in early design development stages here. The site plan has, the civil engineers have been working on this at site site plan, so I don't envision much of anything changing with the site plan. We are at a point now where we are wrapping up the exterior design look, and so that's what this meeting
So
and
basically,
public
all the
information
comments
session
to-
is, excuse me, this public information session is to provide the public with an opportunity, as we have, to make comments and provide feedback on the look and feel of the structure.
Well, it seems that all these comments are moot because the
No,
design is
no,
locked
not,
in.
no,
I mean,
no, not at all.
And to add to that, the process is, to lay that out for everyone, the process is we've been collecting the public input. The next stage is for the committee to digest that input and to provide some feedback to Ted Galante's team and Rick Pomeroy's team. And then at our meeting on the 27th, we will be having further deliberation on the design, and hopefully the committee will be at a point where we can send a recommendation to the select board, who will have final say on the design of the facility.
okay.
So,
Is it a public?
yeah, it's a,
The 27th is
Yep.
also.
it's a public hearing. It's going to be held at 5:15.
Well, it's a public meeting.
A public meeting, it's held at 5:15, and that's a Monday. And anyone is welcome to attend. Yes, Ken?
Does that mean it's open to the public to speak, though?
I've relaxed my stance on letting public speak at this point. So yes, if people.
I think that's what the lady was asking.
Yeah, unlike the select board that, and some boards that only hold public speak at the beginning of the meeting, I think this is an important enough project that we need to do it throughout our future meetings. So other members of the board, any comments or questions before we move on?
I just wanted to thank everyone for taking the time to come here, provide the feedback. It's very important for us to make these decisions. I do think it's incumbent upon us to deliver an aesthetically pleasing facility, not only that serves the function of the fire department, and also delivered, with financial policy, a good financial practice. Your feedback is certainly going to help us relay information to the design team as to different considerations that may be something we overlooked, but I do appreciate everyone taking their time, so thank you.
And I can let you know that some of us committee members had some of the same comments as many of you, so just to let you know. But before we adjourn, are there any future agenda items that we need to plan for, or will that just be done when we put the agenda together?
Yeah, we can, we didn't have it on the agenda because really this was just to focus on, it wasn't a regular meeting, it was more.
I'm just asking because Peter had one question.
Oh, okay.
As a housekeeping matter, we got into the Burson letter of recommendation or the request.
Yes, they've,
And it turned out that several people did not, weren't familiar with it. At the last meeting we had, we agreed to continue that. That still needs to be addressed.
yeah, the team, Pomeroy and Galante's studios, they've taken those comments and provided them to, you want to speak to that quickly on what you've done with that?
Yeah, that information, that request, everything was turned over to the electrical engineer, and they've reviewed the comments, the recommendations, and we can prepare and provide that update to you at the next scheduled meeting. I think there's a lot to it, but the engineer has a very practical approach to it, to address some of the recommendations. Some of the other ones, may just go in the opposite direction.
Okay.
That make sense?
Yep.
The one thing that I would add is we may be able to update the board in terms of the different sewer versus septic options on the 27th. I don't want to commit to it now, but we do have basically draft alternatives on how to serve the facility by sewer. I think we're still waiting for a little more information on septic so we can actually have a comparison of the three options. So that may be a potential that we could roll out on the 27th.
Peter?
Rick, are we to the point we have, we must have a line item for the septic system, correct? A dollar and cent thing? That's never showed up in any of the financial stuff.
Well,
I think
it's
they
included in the
appropriated
project estimate.
200,000 was, if I'm not correct.
Pardon me?
Am I not correct? $200,000
Yeah,
was?
I'd have to go back, I don't want to cite from memory.
I believe it was a.
It's failing me these days.
Okay, there is a number for that.
It was
Yes, there
included
is.
in the project estimate,
Yes.
yeah.
So, could I get a motion to adjourn?
Well,
Oh, no, not
there's
adjourn.
one more item on here.
Okay.
So on item 3, committee initial feedback to give some direction for the 27th.
Okay, well, I'll be happy to start. So, I for one do not like the mixed use of the various elements on the exterior facade. It kind of reminds me of the Snow Library, which, that's another building that I don't know how it got built. It's got the red, the white, and I think we can do much better than what we have here with the brick, the stone, not only the white, but then the brown. I mean, we've got 4 different types of mixed elements on this, that, on the facade, that I am not in favor of. So, that's my initial comment. Peter, would you like to speak?
Yes, I was kind of, well, maybe not surprised at how many comments came up about the pergola, lanai, whatever you want to call it, on that side of the building. And I think there's been a lot of maybe common sense approach about a different approach there, converting that to some porch-type roof, but something that would be protected. To me, I saw it as another place to put PV, but it as well as directing all of the public traffic and coming to the building comes to that side of the building. And it would be easy to, direct people to the front of the building. But I think the lanai thing or the pergola, it seems to be out of character here. My other problem is the facade on the so-called residential portion of the building. It's just coming up as an afterthought. It's like the last thing that was done, it was like, it just doesn't make it. Whether it's the Jetson type roof overhangs or whatever it is, but that gable isn't there yet. It just isn't there as far as I'm concerned. And I think a lot of other people feel that same way. I think whether we go to brick and the other things, I have mixed feelings with. It's a large governmental building. I think I don't think the brick is inappropriate for that. But the facade on the front it doesn't. It just seems that gable area is a separate statement. It just doesn't tie in with the rest of the building.
Kathy, do you have any comments?
I would agree that it's a little too busy with the brick, the stone, the different vertical and horizontal siding, and the colors was a lot. I also was thinking the windows, it just looks a little blank, like it almost needs like shutters, and maybe that would make it a little more aesthetic for people to, make it a little more Cape Cod-y to have like shutters on windows or something like that, make it less industrial looking, but and maybe a cupola, just because the police department has one. Be kind of cool. That's what I have for now.
I'd like to defer to that end if I could. I'd like to hear the other comments.
Mark?
Yeah, I think that the predominant feelings that have been expressed to me as a member of the committee, as a select board member, around town is, could be summed up just by saying, I think people would like to have a softening of the building, a softening of the effect of the building. That I know we had some brief discussion here tonight about, whether or not we want this building to make a statement. This is the fire station, this is the Orleans Fire Rescue Station. It's an important building, and it's an important structure, and so it should be almost in your face, here it is what the people, I think, are expressing, is that we don't need a building that's in our face. The building serves a function, serves an important function. We want it to be appropriate to serve that function, but it doesn't need to make a statement. It needs to be softened, whether it's the amount of brick that's there, or whether it's the multiple palette of colors or textures for everything else. You just said it's so busy, it's too busy. And I think the sentiment that I'm hearing is that this building does not need to be making a statement. The building needs to do the job it needs to do, and it needs to be softened so that it's not in your face, and that it's more in the background than in your face, but still does its job.
Thank you. Mark?
I don't really have any specific comments on the design at this point. I think this process has been to really hear the public's points, and I want to thank the public, as Rich did, for all their comments. I would want to stress that a lot of these decision points along our process that we've taken together has been about keeping costs as low as we can. And that leads to, some of the handouts that were provided are a little bit intricate in terms of the structures and the designs, which leads to much higher costs. And so our focus has been on how do we get the building we need for our community without really breaking the bank. We know this is already a very expensive project. And so I just want to thank Ted and his team for the work they've done to try to do their best to blend those two issues of design versus cost savings together. So just thanking everyone that's been through this process with us.
Rich?
Yeah, again, a lot of work and time has went into this to get to the point where we're at now. A lot of tough decisions have been made. I think based on tonight's outcome and the feedback that we got, I think we should explore at least another alternative to see what the exterior can look like based on more of a traditional Cape Cod, which may look like a corner board, clapboard setup, but something with a softer approach. Now, Ted's team has responded to us extremely well as Rick and your team, on short order, and I'm not sure if that can be done by the 27th, but even something that's right off of Eldridge where we can get a better sense of what that front face of that building could look like under different exterior design alternatives. So, like I said, more that traditional corner board, clapboard look. I'm not sure if the town of Orleans is ready for the vertical lines yet on a building. It seems like that's not a popular thing. So I think on the 27th, if we could have that would be great. I do appreciate the comments from the neighborhood across the street because, one of the things that we have discussed on the site plan is really bringing this fire station closer to Eldridge Parkway, which does open up the site itself. It just inherently opens up the site for greater response, site vision to pull out in emergency situations. So I think when we get down to the landscape site plan architecture, I think looking outside the box and maybe look at alternatives in the right of way on the other side of the street, which we do have authority over. Maybe we could do some plantings or something to create some sort of buffer there. But I think we might be getting ahead of ourselves. I think right now we're looking at that exterior of the building. So I think that's it for my comments.
Okay. Chief, do you have any comments?
First of all, I think I'm really grateful for everyone's input on this. This is an incredibly complex project. There's a lot of layers to it. We're trying to build a critical facility that provides a critical service, but also kind of thread the needle of satisfying and addressing the public concerns. Like, this building has to function, it has to be durable, If something really bad happens in this community, like a hurricane or blizzard, that building has to operate, and that's really a big piece of it. All the comments that people gave tonight, I've taken notes on, and we'll look at those. I do think that we've got to look at softening the front of the building. I would love to see that front look more like a porch kind of thing. But some of the materials and stuff, I'm still very much open to how we're going to do that. There's a lot of versions of fire stations across the world, and I've spent most of my adult life looking at them. I think we've got some work to do, but I would think we got good direction tonight, and we aspire to take all that very seriously.
So, Ted, I would, an architect by the name of Steve Sally sent some online comments in which speak to the chief's comments about perhaps getting rid of the lanai look and having a roof and extending that roof around the front of the building. And I think that's worthy to look into as well. Any other? So, Rick, yes.
Thank you. This has been fabulous. And, you know, our job is to try to give some direction to the design team. And I think the easy items that we need to remember is that our building massing is not going to change.
Agreed.
As much as we'd love to change the location of it on the site, that can't change either, because we need to keep the existing operations open for the duration of the construction. So we can explain that to those folks. We can show them in the different iterations of the plan and the phasing plans. So we can address those. But unfortunately, the site is the site, and because of topography in the existing building, that's not going to change. I feel that we're still in the flat roof, gable roof scenario. So, you know, the Galante Group does not have to worry about changing those details. So what we've got a location, we have massing, and you know, how we deal with that massing and softening up some of the features is really what their charge is at this point. And it's really starting from the front moving back, because the front is what everyone's going to see. So I think that if we take all of those points and really focus on those, it gives them a little bit of direction rather than spinning. Are we changing the roof? No, we're keeping it the way it is. So what we can do to change to deal with that is most important. You know, some of the comments on lighting. You know, there's a dark sky ordinance. So I mean, the building has to comply with that. The considerations about how the building looks at night in the lighting, so we can address those so that we're not a beacon on the street for the community. So if we can agree on those points, I think that gives the Galante Group a little bit more freedom in their head to because there's a lot here, and I really appreciate Ted, you know, and his team for taking all this feedback and really considering it, because you know, they're working from the heart.
Well, we've had other projects that haven't had this sort of a situation where we allowed public input, and it came back to bite us in the long run. So I think this has been a very beneficial meeting, not only for us, but the community as well.
Would you like a motion to adjourn?
So, Ted, thank you for listening and hearing all the comments, and I encourage any of the sitting members, if they didn't comment to Ted or to Mark's office, that they do so Ted can get your comments as well. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.